How are we doing, people? It's your man Nex here, and we're going to keep this fire going and move straight on to the next huge talking point, which is all about George R.R. Martin's interview that he did on July the 13th, which is a massive game changer. I'll be going through the important sections of the interview in its rightful context and then giving you guys a rundown on all the possibilities that it could bring to the story and my interpretation of what I think it means. For anyone who's interested in the full interview, you can find it on Time Entertainment. I'll link it in the description. But what we need is first the context. This was spoken specifically in a section with them talking about Lady Stoneheart and how being brought back after death can change you for the worse. The passage goes like this. Yeah, if someone comes back from being dead, especially if they suffer a violent, traumatic death, they're not going to come back as nice as ever. That's what I was trying to do, and I'm still trying to do with the Lady Stoneheart character. And Jon Snow too is drained by the experience of coming back from the dead on the show. Right, and poor Beric Dondarrion, who is set up as the foreshadowing of all this, every time he's a little less Beric. His memories are fading, he's got all these scars, he's becoming more and more physically hideous because he is not a living human being anymore. His heart isn't beating, his blood isn't flowing in his veins. He's a white, but a white animated by fire instead of by ice. Now we're getting back to the whole fire and ice thing. Oh my goodness. Breathe, take that in if it's the first time you're hearing that, and if you don't realize how significant that is, then let me give it to you right here. Although that quote was about Beric Dondarrion, George himself states that Beric's character was set up as foreshadowing for what has now happened to Jon. Jon is not alive. By Martin's own definition, he is now a corpse but reanimated by fire, assumedly from the Lord of Light. But let's dig deeper into his terminology here, because even I had to question his usage of the word white. For example, the whites we've seen north of the wall in the past are 100% mindless dead corpses, and by that I mean they can no longer function intellectually, whereas I would say that Jon, Beric and even the White Walkers can. They have independent thought. Also, the typical whites that we know can take arrows to their faces, lose limbs, and they don't get tired. Whereas I'm pretty certain that Jon can't take another stabbing to the gut and just walk away from it. On that basis, I don't think George was comparing Jon to them, but more to the Night King or even his uncle Benjen. I mean, let's be honest, a shard of dragonglass through your heart should kill you, but in both the Night King and Benjen's cases, it's what's keeping them alive, which has a little Tony Stark ring to it. Moving on to the point of becoming less of yourself, look at how Benjen interacted with Bran when he rescued him. He was emotionless and almost awkward like. It's interesting to note that even though Benjen and the Night King share the same method of reanimation, the effect has been different. I'm dying to know why there's a difference, and how long did it take before the Night King became this frozen snowman. One of the most important questions that we need the answer to is, what was the source of the Night King's powers? Did he already possess certain abilities that then became augmented with his change, or were they gifted to him by the Children of the Forest? Something that's already buzzing around is a comparison between Jon Snow and Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, and whether Jon will be able to do something similar to Aragorn when he recruited the dead men of Dunharrow into his army. Will this concept have been further inspiration for George, and will we see an army of dead fighting another army of dead? The biggest part of the interview for me, however, was the final section, and now we're going back to the whole fire and ice thing. There are endless theories about what the true meaning of a Song of Ice and Fire is, so was this George just adding another variation to the symbolism of ice and fire, or has he given us a piece of the puzzle that influences the ending of this story? There has always been speculation about whether Rhaegar wrongly identified his son Aegon as the prince that was promised, but if we do find out that it's either Jon or Daenerys, Could this be foreshadowing that one of them will have to succumb to the same fate as the Night King? There are no doubt countless questions from many of you, so please make sure that you put your thoughts in the comments, because I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about this. I have a huge theory coming tomorrow about Rhaegar, believe me, you don't want to miss it. And finally, to anyone who is looking for Season 7 reactions, breakdowns and predictions with a lot more theories in between, make sure you hit that sub button. I'll see you all tomorrow, and until then people, take it easy.